All right.
I hope you're ready to wiggle. Welcome everyone to another episode of Love and Lattes. Victoria, the self-love scientist here with a beautiful Alana. And this episode is actually going to be very unique, very special, because not only are we going to have a fantastic and insightful conversation about the power of movement, we're also going to have a very special little guided dance by the beautiful, gorgeous Alana herself. And before we get into it, Alana Weserby is a 500-hour certified yoga teacher and certified guide for Journey Dance. She has been passionate about movement for a very long time, and you've been teaching yoga professionally since 2006. And you've discovered that dancing is one of the most enjoyable ways to embrace silliness while also releasing any personal narratives that are holding us back from our power. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
Welcome, Alana,
Yes.
to Love and Lattes.
Thank, thank you so much for having me. I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you. Yes. It's just, I think most of us think, either we can dance or we can't. And so if we lean on the side of where we can't, that's where we're losing so much of ourselves, I believe, because anyone can dance. Right? It's just when we feel like we can't, it's because we've been locked into our minds because of all the judgment or the shame, whether we, produce ourselves or from society, and it holds us back from creativity and feeling our femininity and feeling sensual and sexual. And so dance just really just gives our power back to us, you
I
know?
completely agree. I feel like if I ever feel stuck or just I need a sudden burst of energy, I have found just by throwing on some kind of track, whether it's fast or hardcore, like just the idea of moving my hips always puts me in a better sense of mind. And I highly encourage that for everybody. I think movement is therapeutic in its own way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important that we're, you know, I guess rewiring and relearning how important it is for us to feel just as free as we did as children, as we do now. And, and I know it's something that we tapped into before. It's like, think of ourselves when we're like 80 and 90 years old,
Mm.
and all the grief that we give to ourselves right now. When we're that age, I know that we will sit back and say, geez, why did we do that to ourselves? Why did we hold ourselves back when we had these beautiful bodies and we had so much beautiful opportunity to just enjoy ourselves? And so that's like, I always try to think of being in the present moment, of course, but also doing things that my future self would be like, hell yeah, you know?
I completely agree. I love this. Like,
Yeah.
asking yourself, is this a part of like what my future self would want to do? Is this the woman, or is this adding the value to the woman I aspire to be? I've got it's blurry, but my mood board for the rest of the year is right behind me, and I have beautiful women in my life who will every so often drop in and be like, "Is it on the vision board? Is this
Yeah.
is this something your future self would do?" Because, like you said, we're always aspiring to be something greater, and with that in mind, though, you mentioned just being able to move our bodies like we did as kids. So what do we
Yeah.
do if, we're kind of feeling, or for anyone who might be feeling like, oh, that's, in quotes, like childish and it's, silly.
Good. Let it be silly.
Like, oh yeah.
That's that's the whole point. And of course, there's this idea that yes, we want to mindfully, joyfully connect with this idea of freedom like we did as children. And I know people have a hard time, and I completely understand, associating sensuality with being a child. And so that's not what I mean. But I mean that freedom that we felt, that we didn't care about what other people thought. We ran out of the house, in whatever clothes we wanted to wear. We didn't care what people thought of us, and that's what I'm trying to say, that, what we want to put into our bodies and our minds, of this idea of just being free and being silly. And you know what? Wear what you want to wear, and wear it for yourself and not anyone else, because it makes you feel good, you know? I get so happy when I see people walking around and they have like these tiny little tops and these torn jeans and they're just showing their body, these women. I'm just like, good for you. I love that. I love that you're embracing you, you know? And I know otherwise society would be like, oh, she shouldn't be wearing that. And I'm just, so I cheer on everyone who just walks out of the house to say, you know what, this is me, love me as I am. And that's, I think that's beautiful.
That's amazing. How is this something that you've always felt? And like for everybody who's listening to the podcast, if you head over to YouTube, you can see this just strikingly sexy dress that Elena was wearing right now. So it's like Black Dress Day because I'm wearing one, but hers is like cuts it out just right. So how did you yourself get into this, routine or even this mindset that like moving my body, like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do it regardless. I don't care like what, honestly, like dance like no one's watching. And did this also add value to the way you show up confidently?
Right. No, I would say I definitely have gone through different waves of feeling confident and not confident in my body, but that was only because of what I was telling myself and what I was feeding myself. Basically, digesting, maybe I wasn't surrounding myself with the right type of people, or just I wasn't finding things in my life that I was passionate about. So before, even though I've always been into movement, I never necessarily connected it with sensuality and feeling empowerment. It was more of just, an exercise of just needing to get things done, right? But then tapping into that and realizing that I can use that power that I receive from the work and the movement that I do, and I can use it to allow myself to build more confidence. So I've certainly gone through moments where I don't feel confident, and then, and it shows. I mean, um, as a child, I know that it was really important um, for me. And as I was growing up, I wanted to wear whatever it was that, the cool people were wearing. I wanted to look and be like all the supermodels, but I wasn't embodying my own confidence. I was trying to implement and be someone else rather than being me. And so honestly, it's taken some time for me to truly tap into that and to start being, more of who I am and just enjoying being Alana, tapping into that little girl who danced around all, in her living room by herself all the time, and so it's been like a roller coaster, right? And right now, I'm 47 years old and I feel the best in my body that I've had in a very long time. And I'm so joyful and grateful for the opportunities to have my yoga practice and to dance and to learn about the desires that I truly want for myself and to detach to things that no longer serve me in ways that kill my joy. So,
Beautiful. I love
yeah.
that. I think there's a quote somewhere, or maybe you probably said it to me before, but I think it is important, whether it's at some point of the day or even it might be difficult for the day, but even just starting out with the week and asking yourself, did I let my inner child out today? Did I let
Yeah.
myself tap into something playful, and whether it's
Yeah.
wearing something cute and frivolous or dancing wildly or like honestly screaming into a pillow. Like, let's talk about
Yes.
it.
Exactly. Exactly. There is something really exhilarating about just using your voice and screaming if you need to scream or sing a song out loud if you want to. And there's some beautiful empowerment by just touching yourself,
Mhm.
just embracing yourself. We always expect and look for the things outside of us to bring us the love and the joy, but it's always about us. And so that's why sensual dance, and even though the things that you talk about, the self pleasures and things, they're so important for us to honor ourselves, for ourselves first and foremost.
Mm.
And and encompassing that with the idea of just letting yourself keep it simple, be silly, have fun, don't overthink it, right? So
When it comes to movement, and thank you for saying that, when it comes to movement, especially when it, like your sensual dance, like there's a lot of hip moving. Why do you think by moving our hips, we're actually beginning to kind of tap in more into our femininity? And I know like we've done workshops in the past, and just moving in general always felt just very freeing. And
Yes.
you know, there are these taboos and like societal, like, you know, they see people dancing certain ways. I'm like, oh, that's super sexual and such a like a turn off, or, you know, technically it's erotic in its own sense. However, there's
Yes.
like healing modality that's
Yes.
happening, like microscopically, like as you're moving your hips, you're actually relieving like all this
Yeah.
stagnant energy. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Exactly. Well, I think those people who feel that way, I think they're not having joy in their life. As sad as that is.
It is their
Because if you're,
perspectives and their thought patterns that are holding them from
yes,
moving the hips.
exactly. Exactly. And they're willing to see and deny someone's joy rather than embracing it as well. That is beautiful. You know, um, that is a movement that I can see how this person feels like just really wonderful in their body. And if you can allow yourself to connect with someone who is moving provocatively or however way you want to talk, you know, and those words, whatever comes for you, then it can bring you so much heat and so much, you know, pleasure. And the reason why we move into our hips and we get that pleasure is, you know, for many reasons. Yes, that is where, you know, there's a lot of pleasure nerves down there, but our vagus nerve, right, is connected down into our lower end, right into the upper voice box. I mean, it's such a connection of the whole body. And when you move your hips and you just, you know, wiggle and I don't know, it's just the whole body really just starts to move with you. You know, even just doing this, I'm just like, ooh, you know, it just feels so good.
Yes. And then
It
you're,
feels
I'm
so
watching
good.
you do it, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yes. And would it be such a beautiful world if the society wasn't so afraid of this feminine, powerful energy,
Yeah.
right? It'd be so wonderful for people just to be able to embrace this beauty and this power that, you know, that exists instead of it feeling so masculine and particularly right now, very wounded masculine. But yeah,
I love that. And I definitely think if we kind of like worked on changing our perspectives of the way that just dancing generally doesn't have to be immediately connected to, you know, sex or anything like that. If you go out dancing and immediately people are like, oh, like she's dancing and she's calling me to, you know, like it's like a mating call.
right.
Same time, it's like, no, 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 just let me be in my space. Like, let me move my body and just feel free and wild because I've been sitting at this desk for days.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. But there's also, I feel like there's no shame in seeing someone and thinking, wow, she's truly connected to her sexuality, her sensuality, and that's beautiful. But yes, not assuming that the person is doing it for your attention, right? There, and instead just sitting back and saying, wow, that is beautiful. It's like a piece of artwork, you know, we're moving through this artistic movement in our bodies and we're showing, you know, these feelings, right? And we're putting it on the canvas of our bodies, right? And we do that through our sensual movements. And that's why it can just be so beautiful if you're willing to embrace it, you know, for yourself and also to allow others.
I'm really glad
So
you said that. I'm really glad you said that. The comment about, wow, look at her, or even him, like just watching men dance,
exactly.
this
Yeah.
ability to feel more connected to your sensuality and your sexuality is like to me is it's very important to have that connection, like first of all, first and foremost having that connection, and then second of all just the amount of pleasure and admiration from others to see you in that energy. It's intoxicating.
Yes.
And that's why I'm so excited for our little mini dance session.
Yes.
Before we get into it, what are your, if someone was, you know, whether they're camera shy or they're like, I don't like dancing because of an endless amount of reasons. Maybe it's just something they're not interested in. It can be fear-based. What is a great way for them to kickstart this?
To kickstart it, close their eyes, right? Let it be internal rather than so external, because that's usually where we embody the most fear, is we're afraid of how we look, and so when we are afraid of how we look, then we tap into this anxiety of fear, and then that's where we can't dance any longer. So if you can close out the external and not worry about what you look like, and just stay in the feeling of, what does it feel like for me just to squeeze my arm? What does it feel like to rub my belly? What does it feel like to rub the parts of myself that I deny their beauty? And just truly just honor it. And the most important is to be so grateful for the beauty that you do embody in yourself, you know? So, breathe. That's a big one too, right? Don't hold your breath, right? If you can take a deep breath in and then send all that energy down into your hips and just start moving, you can really just begin to let things go, right?
I think that's a great start. And I would also add on to just letting go of the idea that it has to look like something specific. I think
Yeah.
we might cut ourselves off pretty quickly if we're like, oh, I can't do this specific movement or my body doesn't look like that. I think it's important to keep in mind that you are beautiful as you are, and as you're moving, to let your body speak for yourself in this moment.
Yes, of course, definitely. Always, it's so important to try to get out of our minds and into our bodies, right? So,
Mhm. Oh,
yay.
can you say a little more about that? That was beautiful.
Yeah, so moving out of your mind, so we get stuck, in our funk of what, like you said, how things should look.
Mhm.
And if we can get out of our thinking minds and into our bodies, it can become also sort of very meditative, right? Where
Mm.
we're just focusing on the breath, and we're just focused on the feelings of our bodies and the movements that it creates. The feminine energy is all about creation and nurturing. And so letting yourself tap into that fluidity. So
That's good. If you heard everybody heard that, please recognize that. That was, I do think we tend to live in our minds more often than we need to be. And not only does getting yourself to speak and connect with your body, and I did an episode with the wonderful Eva of the Line Method, and I can always link that in here, but she does a great job explaining how important it is to create this mind-body connection and not just
yes,
be up here all the time.
exactly.
So, with that said, I think it's time for Alana to lead us. My heel just completely came off, so I need to get my back on. I think Alana is going to lead us through some really yummy movements. So I'll let you
Yes.
take the reins, and then when you're ready, we'll play a little bit of some wild music, and we'll take
All
it.
right, sounds fun. And just remember, it's not about necessarily, you don't have to mimic what I do. You might start, as like inspiration, but always when you start to feel like you want to take it and expand it to somewhere else, then allowing your body to speak for itself. So,
And as you're listening to this episode or watching the video, please be mindful of the space that you're in and not be operating any heavy machinery or driving a
yes.
vehicle. I mean, if you're listening to it, please, pause it, download, save for later, add a note to your calendar to check out the very last couple minutes of this. And okay, go ahead, girl. Let's
Yay.
do it.
All right. So we'll just start seated, and you can just rub your palms together, taking a big deep breath in and just sigh it out. Maybe your eyes closed, otherwise a soft gaze. You can start to rub down your forearms and just, and what you're doing is when you're rubbing, you're also sending this loving light energy into your body, and this golden honey. And you're just feeling it rub all over the juiciness of your skin everywhere. Yes. And then if you wanted to, begin to stand, you're welcome to stand. If you like just sitting, of course, you're welcome to, but we're going to move into a standing position. And so just continue with that, from your hands through your arms, rubbing into your shoulders, you know. And as I'd mentioned, taking it to those parts of yourself that maybe tend to shy away from. So loving on your legs, maybe your bottom or your belly, and just loving the movements and the freedom. Yay! It just feels so good. And you just take space, take as much space around you as you like. Yeah, don't be afraid to move, to breathe. Maybe take a deep breath in and just let things go. Beautiful. Are you playing music? Because I'm just dancing to my own self here.
I can. Yeah.
That's okay. Either way, but so just like that, you can do without, music and just tap into yourself, right? And just have this imagination running through your body, just thinking about it. Or you can turn on music for inspiration. Yes. So if you wanted to get up, you could, depending on your space.
Space.
Take the space. Yeah. So it's just moving, how do you envision yourself as you move? You just let it go. And have fun. Yay! Don't forget to breathe. Embracing yourself with all this love and light. It feels so good. Yay!
And thank you, everyone, so much for
Yay.
joining
That
us.
was fun.
Dancing, our sensual dancing with Alana.
Yes. Yes. I always consider my sensual dancing very silly and I just love it. Like I'm not like seriously sensual. I'm just silly sensual and just having fun with it. And it's, so everyone is going to connect with whatever works for them, but that's certainly what I tend to tap into. So.
Absolutely. I love that you said that though, because I feel that there tends to be, again, like that pressure where it has to be so serious or you have to have like this certain face but for
Right.
you, you're like, oh no, I'm going to be silly and playful. And you said take up space. And I was like, I love that. I love that so much. So I
Yeah.
hope everyone who was listening took up space for our mini little journey into dance today. And Alana, I truly appreciate you sharing your insights about this and the power of movement. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close out today's episode?
I think I could keep talking to you, honey, as long as you let me talk.
I can
Always. It's such a joy to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much for being here today. And thank you everyone for tuning into another luscious episode of Love and Lattes. I hope you found some yummy movements. And again, if you didn't get to dance with us, you can always go back, check it out, and then you can always, find some really great music, play your favorite song, and body, let yourself feel good.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun.